Hi ICSI community, I'm Gemma Catolino from Tilburg University and Geronimus Academy of Data Science. I'm postdoc and today I'm going to present our paper about the understanding of community smell variability following a statistical approach. And this paper received also 2 badges from ACM since the replication package is available, functional and reusable. But of course, this work was not done by only one person, but teamwork makes the dream work. So I'm going to present the rest of the authors that are not this one, but yeah, the community smell team, in particular Alexander Serebrenic, Damien Tamburri, and Fabio Palomba. But let's start introducing the context of this paper. So, as you know, developing software is by nature a social activity. So the way developers interact between each other can affect the presence of social depth as well as technical depth and impact on the code quality. Social depth can be caused by the presence of community smell, a set of social technical characteristics and patterns that it has been demonstrated to increase project cost. But let me provide you an example of a particular community smell. Please consider this as a community of developers that work, communicate, and collaborate together. It can happen that there is one of them that carry out their work irrespective or regardless of their peers. And this is called the lone wolf effect. Of course, now let's jump into the part about what we know about community smell until now. Well, previous study showed that community smells regularly affect open source community, and developers perceive them as harmful for the sustainability of software projects, and that sometimes developers deal with them, changing the underlying community structure. And previous study, very recent study, show how some socio-technical factor can predict their emergence. But what we don't know about community smell? Well, it is not clear how socio-technical factor can contribute to the variability of community smell. And for variability, we refer to the extent to which community smell instances increase or decrease over time. Of course, this study and the results of this study, possible estimating how change in this factor would impact the emergence of issue in the community, as well as derive additional aspects influence the phenomenon. So the design and the goal of our study was to investigate how previously identified socio-technical factors contribute to the variability of 4 well-known community smell, considering open source projects. And in particular, 60 projects, so 60 open source projects, 4 community smells like Lone Wolf, Black Cloud, Radio Silence, organizational silos, and 40 metrics. Of course, in order to understand if these metrics are correlated to the variability, we use a statistical approach. So let's explain more about the dataset. So the dataset was publicly available from previous study. So this dataset contains also the value of the community smell analyzed, as well as the metrics that we considered in our study. We have different time windows for each project, and these projects are different in terms of size, community, and programming languages. The 40 metrics considered, the goal of this metric is to better characterize the community of each project analyzed. Indeed, you see aspects about turnover, social network analysis, and so on. About the community smell, of course, as I said before, we wanted to understand the variability. So for us, it is not important the number of a particular community smell, but we want to understand the variability. So if the number of community smell increases degree. So what we did, based on the value of the community smell of the first time windows, we delayed this one and we compare the number of community smell with the second time window, with the second one. So in this case, we now understand that the number of community smell decrease. So the number 5 is replaced by the nominal value decrease. In the following, the value increase, so the nominal value will be increased. And if the number doesn't change, it's stable. So this represents our response variable in our model. In order to construct our model, we, of course, in this case, we were facing a multi-class problem since we had these 3 nominal values. So we use a multinomial logistic linear model, and we use our tool. Of course, in order to know more about all the detail of the script, you can go on the replication page. Okay, now let's move into the results part. So, as for the organizational silo, we notice that communication-related metrics can be helpful to reduce the variability, so the high variability of the smell. But on the other side, the increasing of the collaboration may be detrimental for this type of smell. Our recommendation is to provide instruments able to balance communication and collaboration in order to optimize the community health. As for the black cloud, we found that metrics related to the cohesion of the community can help to decrease the variability, since maybe you can involve more developers within the communication. But on the other side, the presence of developers previously involved in the community smell lead to a reduction of the chance of black cloud being stable. So our recommendation in this case is to carefully monitor developers that have been previously involved in the community smell, in order to not reiterate this behavior that may cause new sources of social and technical debt. As for the lone wolf, we found that involving more developers, including the non-core ones, can decrease the variability of the smell, but on the other side, increasing of the developer in both communication and collaboration network leads to increase the chance of the stability of the smell. Our recommendation in this case, we know that lone wolf is strictly connected with the community structure and cohesion of the team. But of course, something needs to be done in order to understand and devising approaches and recommendations that can help the community to be more cohesive and mitigate the lone wolf. Finally, as for the radio silence, we saw that metrics related to the creation of cohesive subgroups can be useful to decrease the variability of this community smell. But on the other side, the metrics related to the presence of sponsored developers have high correlation with the increase of the variability, because maybe these type of developers can be more authoritative in a way, and can interpose him or herself in every single communication. So our recommendation in this case is to analyze and study more the personality of developers. So we need instruments to understand better developer personality and better profile them. So our final remarks based on the results that we obtain are the following. Communication is the key factor for reducing social debt. Indeed, I think that you find a common pattern here where communication metrics are really useful to decrease the variability of a community smell. Increasing collaboration network is not a golden hammer. See the result of radio silence organizational silo. Community evolution as a multi-objective problem. We need to consider the problem of the presence of community smell not from only a communication aspect, but also from a collaboration aspect. So we need to consider different aspects and together. Learning not to reiterate community smell. This is very important. So we need to understand the real situation, why people previously involved in a community smell try to reiterate this behavior. So we need to understand that this behavior in a way should be correct. We need to know and we need to learn how to not reiterate the community smell. And finally, radio silence teach us that personality matters. So we need to consider more personality aspect and metrics if we want to understand better how we can mitigate community smell. That's it. I'm here for live question answer. Thanks for the attention.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. It is a great piece of paper. I really enjoyed reading it. Congratulations for your work. So it seems that we have a couple of questions already in the chat. So I believe that Gemma is the one taking the question because she's the one with the mic open.
Yeah.
So Gemma, in what way would you consider personalities as part of your future work?
Yes. First of all, very good question. I think that as you understood, especially in case of radio silence, personality matters. So we are thinking to understand also the emotion of developers. If they are angry, happy. So understand different type of emotion of developer in order to try to understand the personality of this developer, because I think that in organizational aspect, uh, personality, it is very important to understand how monitoring community smells.
Okay, thank you. By the way, this question was made by Walter, and he
Yeah.
loved the term community smells. So, yeah. So the next question is from Danielle Russo. Thanks for the interesting contribution. Have you thought to induce your findings into a general theory and validate it afterwards?
Yeah, very good question. Indeed, actually, we are thinking to move and start to think to construct a theory about community smell. Now I lost the term that I want to tell to Daniel. But yes, we are working also in that direction because it is important. And I agree with you. I think that this is for sure the next step.
That's great to hear that. I was wondering about that while reading. So if so, there are no questions here. I'll drop one. So in one current research that we are conducting, we're analyzing different levels of community. So we're analyzing both project level, and we are going one level up, or checking for organizations and ecosystems actually. So this may also be change a little bit of your results, I believe, because when you talk about like centrality of network or things like that, maybe if you look at organizational level, you see that someone is running across multiple projects, and it ended up that, for example, for turnover, this person was not there actually, but it was in a upstream or downstream project doing something. Do you
Yes,
think that this would change somehow your results, or?
yes, indeed, I agree with you. I mean, also because open source dynamics, especially in the organization, are really dynamics. So for sure, this can influence the results of our current research of community smell, as well as we are also trying to better analyze which type of community types you can find in open source community. One step we already did developing Yoshi, but actually we are developing um, a new tools based on Yoshi tool that detect community type. And I think that this can be another important step to understand communities and also think to adapt these in different contexts and different at different granularity.
Thank you for the answer, Gemma. I'll try to drop a quick question, like just a clarification. So in the
Yeah.
dataset that you used, what kind of communication means is present there? Is it just
Yeah,
issues and pull requests, or is there?
and also based on the mailing list, so developers that
Mhm.
communicate in the mailing list that they have, especially for example for Apache ecosystem. So it's a matter of communication that they have on GitHub, mail, and yeah, several factors.
Thank you.